Hello dear Baydar Shamozen. Well, first of all, I want to give some explanations for the kids who don't have a background in 3D Max. Explain the basics of 3D Max to them so that they can use this software and pressure for memory work. Well, when we open 3D Max, we see this scene exactly as always. My 3D Max is 3D based. If yours is a higher version and is more advanced, it's no problem. Let's get back to the tutorial. We can see different views of our scene here. For example, here is a tilt view, a front view, a left view, and here we have a perspective view. For example, I want to draw a gnome here. Well, here let's see this gnome from the front view, here from the tilt view, from the left view, and here from the perspective view. To delete this sentence, we use the shortcut key and press the delete key on the keyboard. And we know that this sentence was also deleted. Now let's assume that we want to work on one of these pages. I don't want to see all 4 pages together. To do this on the page we want. For example, I'm on perspective now. I hold down the key assigned to perspective and press Alt and W. And we know that we entered the perspective page alone. To return to the previous state, we press Alt and W again. For example, I want to work in a tilt view now. I move the mouse in the tilt view and press Alt and W again. Now we want to know how we can work in this scene. To zoom in this scene, we use the mouse scroll. Wherever there is a mouse, the mouse scrolls down by moving the mouse down. Okay. Now let's say we zoomed in somewhere and lost our original scene, and want to go back to our midpoint. We hit the Z key and go back to the original scene. We can also use this part to control our scene. For example, we can use this zoom here. This zoom is much more precise, and now that your scene is shot without any blur, we can use this zoom much better. And for example, we want to go around any part of the city we want to go to. We hold down the left mouse button, and we can rotate around our scene and apply our changes. This active rant that we see here on the screen is called a grip. The size of these can be controlled. I'll tell you in the next steps so that we can narrow down their size. But whether these grips are in the scene or not depends a lot on your own transmission. And I can control it with the G key. For example, I don't want to have a grid in this left view right now. When we hit G on our keyboard, it disappears, and when we hit it again, it comes back. Or for example, in the profile, when I hit G, it disappears, and I hit G again, it comes back. So guys, I'm going to pull a kettle here again, and grab the Alt+2WS and come to this page. We'll be able to see that I'm in a perspective view now, and I want to go to other views. Do I need to press Alt and W every time to select the view I want, and then press Alt and W again? There's no middle ground for that. Why? Each of these images has a shortcut key. For example, we are in the left view right now. We are in the left view. We want to go to the top view, called a Mayimber top view. It is T. When you hit the T, you go to the swing view. We see this quote from the swing view or above that swing view. Or for example, we want to go to the loft view. We press the L key. We came to the loft view, and we want to put it into perspective. We are following. We came to perspective. And that means from now on up here, click here where it says perspective. You can also choose from here, for example. If you want to use the top view, we'll go to the top view, or the front view, the left view. So I'm going to delete this. Let's go to the menu on the right. Let's start with this section called Create. Let's look at this section of the image. We'll see the text Create, and the part of the maze where we have the stable volumes. What we see are these stability volumes that are in this section. We can use them. Now we can start with the box. I click on the box. I say in the scene, I say select a point, the point from which we want to start the box, drag. I click and hold and drag. For us, I drag as far as I think. If necessary, I'll drag it. Well, I think it's fine here. I'll release the click and mouse. If we move it up, the height goes up. If we move the mouse down, the height goes down. It will be added, so I will upgrade the box now. So far so good. And I will click again, and the box has been drawn. Now that you see the mouse's interest is like this. We are still in the box command. If we want to exit the command, we have to right-click. Now we have exited the command. So this is the box that we drew. We see a line in this box. This is an error that is unnecessary. If we want to remove this, it has a command for your version of the Max. Some people remove it with the C key. Now your Max version is reset to 23. You have to hold the Shift and C keys, and you see this is gone. If I want to return it, I have to hold the Shift and C keys again. I say it depends on your version of the Max. Some versions of the Max have an empty C key, the C key alone, and the box around it will disappear. Now we want to give this box the desired worship. We drew it like this, without any worship. We want to select the box. In order to have the settings for this box, we will go to the Modify section here. And we see that the name of our box is written, and here are the parameters that can be changed, like length, height, width, and other things. Well, for example, I want to make this box 1 meter and 7 centimeters. Its height is also 200 centimeters. Well, this box is also there. In the Dymax beam, in order for us to be able to manually adjust the settings of any shape, that shape must be not selected. You will be in the modifier, which does not do anything related to the settings. Now this box of mine is not selected. In the appearance section, it is also empty. When I select this, let's see what its specifications are. How high is it? How wide is it? How much is its shape and how many segments does it have? In order for us to be able to see the error around this volume, this error becomes more colorful when we give them segments or edges. We have to press the 4 keys on the keyboard. So you saw that the software key has a bug when you typed it. This line was identified. If your software key also had a bug, or if you clicked on this section, this SOAP section that we have here from here, we can enable or disable this option. If we click on this option again, these lines will be highlighted, and it will say Edge Segment. Now we are in this section. Modifier. You see here you have a series of other parameters that can be changed. These are the number of edges or sigmoids that I will explain to you later. We can use them a lot. Let's add these. Now we are going around this area a lot. I want to go around it again. The more we do this, the more the number of edge segments will be. For example, I want to have 12. And in your height section, for example, let me explain about the unit, which is a very important part. To customize your system, Use the Customize Unit Setup section. This section may be used when you first open your Dimex browser. Your system unit should be on one of these. You should set your unit to metric now, and from here it depends on that. It is easiest for you to work with centimeters or meters. You choose one of these two. You saw that when I was drawing this box, its settings were in centimeters, because here I had selected centimeters, but you can change this to meters. Or change the centimeter. And this is the system section, which is a very important section, and you must do it before starting work. Adjust this section. For normal work, you should set the surface unit system to meters or centimeters. You see, these are other days we can choose one. But for normal work, it's better to use a meter or centimeters, which I always use myself. This actually determines the accuracy of our work. So if you start a task, and in the middle of it you see that this system stops, and tells you, for example, is it a millimeter or something else? This person, for example, don't change this, because the whole scene will be bugged, and you won't be able to continue. Continue with the same preamble, but it's better for me to always continue this scene. I'll reset it when it's reset. You always do this at the beginning of your work, before you start your project. Set a few levels for yourself. For example, I'm going to measure this in centimeters. Set a few levels for me in centimeters. Okay. The next shape we want to work on is the sphere from the geometry section. We select the sphere in a specific map. Click and hold. And when we reach the shape we want, release the click. And right-click to exit the command. Now my shape is selected. I can go to the mod section and check its settings. From this section, I can also give it a radius. Now its radius is 60 centimeters. I can make its radius smaller or larger. For example, I can make its radius 20 centimeters. I select it again. Or for example 8 centimeters. That's it. Well, there are other settings for other settings. I want to go to the view of the curve. Another setting that has round shapes mostly. This is the number of segments. Now the number of segments of the sphere is 38. See how I change when I reduce the number of segments? I change it to 10. See, it has become a circle. But I'll put it on, for example, an octagon. Our shape has become rounder. Now I'm working here. The fewer the number of segments I have, the sharper the corners. But if you want it to be rounder, you have to increase the number of segments. And again, I'll click on perspective. Again, this is it. From this section, you can cut this volume. With this section, it means from the bottom. And if we get it in the shape we want, we can give it a number and cut it. And to slice it, we also come here on. We click on Slice, and these two options will be activated for us. Drag this in your slice. So, the next shape I want to work on is the cylinder. I'll draw this. The cylinder is like a box. We click on a thread, hold it, release it, and now if we bring it down, it will move down, and if we move it up, it will move up. We'll resize the desired shape. Click once again, right-click, and exit the command. This is from the cylinder. Well, the cylinder's settings are like the settings for other shapes. From this section, we can set its radius. Increase the height of this roll. You can draw the height of the ray and the height of the mandible if you want to draw a precise shape. And so, in the previous shapes we had segments. Here we have a sight. The number of these edges and corners is not smooth at all. The corners are becoming irregular. If we increase the number of sides, it will become smoother. If we decrease it, it will become smoother. A friend even on 3 bells like an 8-bell bell. For now, everything that is known is from Urchin. So now I want to look at this from a perspective that we're going to explore. I select it. We have a slide here too. The slide option that we activate. We can cut it in 2 directions. In this case, I will choose cell. Well, I'll calculate this, and the next thing we're going to work on is the plane, which is very useful. We use it a lot in projects. And like a box can be drawn with a distance, but it doesn't have a height. To make it a plane, click on a point again, hold it and release. This is our plane, and we go to the Modify section. There are settings. We can give it dimensions here. For example, 50 centimeters by 80 centimeters. And this also has segments, the number of segments. So here I am, making this so that we can see the men. And then we won't see the segments. And it will be a lot. Well, these were the most important parts of geometry. Electronically, these shapes are also drawn in this way, but we don't use them much in architecture. And they are not very useful for us, but they are drawn in the same way, and they are drawn in the same way, and today their settings are from Natify Cut. So now we go to the shape section, which is here. I'll click on it. Here we have lines, rectangles, arcs, and so on. Other shapes, all of which are in the form of lines, are used a lot. So we use them a lot. These shapes are mostly used in top, left, and front views, and they cannot be used in Mite perspective. So I'll delete this. Go to the top view. I'll delete this. We're back to the top view. I'll change one of them. Let's go draw a line. I want to draw a line now. I'll select the line. I'll select a starting point. For example, I want to start from this point, and this is my line. If I want to draw a straight line, I have to hold down the Shift key on the keyboard. Like this. Now let's work on the rest of the text for that too. The line setting is very important, very good. And I'll explain it to you later. And now we just have a general review of the shape menu. I'll delete this vote. Let's go to the rectangle tool. I click a starting point, hold and drag. I specify my end point. And I release. This is our rectangle. And we go to its settings. In this section, the rendering section, we have two options: enabling renderer and enabling viewport. So what are these two options? When I enable these two options will create a volume around this shape of mine. I selected both options so that they can see this volume in the renderer and in the viewport. I go to the perspective view here. It is not specified here. This volume has a little bit. If we can see, it means it is out of line. We can use it to see it no matter how much we use it. This dish is visible. For example, it does not hurt. This is the thickness that these two options give us when this is enabled. Well, this shape is also removable. We said that from this section we can determine the thickness of this volume, that is the period of our rectangle. For example, if we put it here, we can simply subtract 80 centimeters from its side. The number you give it makes it softer or sharper than this part of the side. The number of this part of the side determines whether this shape of mine is softer or sharper. Its corners, for example, I give the number 5 here. You can see that this way the corners are sharpened like this. Or for example, I give the reset number. The corners are completely. Or more, for example, see. Well, now this shape is on the round mode. We can put it on the rectangular mode. I activate this option. Here I can change its settings again. Here we can change its settings. When we are on the style mode, we can give it a width and height. We can give it, for example, 4.5. Well, we can work with these settings and get the shape I want. For example, now I increase this. We see the changes. Or for example, I can increase and decrease its angle. What angle is it? The angle wheel and other settings. So, I go back to the top view. And now I want to draw a circle. I draw a starting point again and release the circle. Its settings are also like a rectangle. If you click on these two buttons, a solid is created around it, which we can see. And now here we can put it on the rotation section. I will increase its side. This is to increase its solidity a little bit. And if we can have a solid on the rectangle section, and work with these settings again, to reach the settings we want. So the next button is the ellipse, which we can draw a Bayesian with. I will go to the inverter. We can draw a Bayesian with it. And if we hold down the Control key, We can draw a circle. It does not have the Bayesian mode anymore. I turn the control key off and Bayesian. Well, Bayesian has the same settings as the other parameters. Now it has a solidity here. Because our interactivity is on, I will remove these two. I will delete this upper Bayesian. This is selected. See, it has the same settings. Just one more setting in the lower section, which we will explain in the parameters section. Here we have an outline option, so we can enable this. Here I can give it a weight. For example, it's not 5 Sargon. I'll take a bigger number. I'm zooming in, you see. See, it created another line on me. So, increase your distance so you can see better. For example, it's not 25 centimeters, because it wasn't, of course, so. This is the Norwegian that we have in the ellipse. And if we want to draw a circle that has two lines like this, we can use the ellipse. To draw it, we have to hold the control key and hold it at the same time. So we're ending the sessions, and in the next sessions we'll get to know important parts like move, rotate, snap, and other settings. So in this part we're going to drink with the move, rotate, scale, and snuff commands. I'm drawing a box here. I want to move this box in different directions. I'm going to click on these symbols from this toolbar, and we'll see this. And this gadget appears for us that if I click and hold on any of the axes, I can move the volumes to the same document body. I held down the X-axis and moved it. Now on the Y-axis, you see it turned yellow. It changed color. I hold down left-click and moved it. Or on the Y-axis, if I want to in all three axes, let me enlarge this page, if I want to in all three axes. If we move this object of ours, we hold this middle point here if it turns yellow, and we see that our shape moves in any direction we want. So now I want to make a few copies of this shape. To copy the shape, hold down the Shift key, and move the object in any direction to copy the line. Now I'm moving it on the Y-axis, and at the same time holding down the Shift key, I'm moving it. This surface appears to me, which has three options: copy, instance, and reference, which I'll explain to you. And here we can specify the number of copies. For example, I want to make 3 copies of this shape, okay? You see, I made 3 copies. For me, this is the copy mode of this shape, which at a time like this, you see that we have 4 concise shapes. I press Control-click. I press Control-click. I press Control-click. Whenever we want to go back, we press Control-click. Take. So here I want to take a copy from inside the instant mode, which I'll show you with a normal copy. I want to take 3 copies of it, so when we copy our object in instance mode, we go to the multiple section and see a symbol like this appear. This means that it shows us that this copy of our object is in instance mode. So now what is the difference with a normal copy? The difference is that my original shape was this. When I change my original shape, I increase every parameter of the shape. For example, you see this. The other shape that I copied also changes its parameters. All four change together. This is the instance mode. Now imagine that we, for example, took a screenshot of this document and regretted it. We don't want the rest of the shape to change. What do? We go here and turn off this game. Then we'll open it again now. Every time I change the statistics, you see this shape. It has been removed from the instance mode. It doesn't change. Now I want to remove this, and so on. Now I was a variable in the original shape. See, the rest don't change anymore, because it has left this level mode. Well, you know from the root mode. Its symbol is this and its shortcut is this key. I select this, and I want to rotate this volume. These axes that appear here for us. On each of these axes, we can rotate the shape in this direction. We hold and move the mouse. We click, hold, and move the mouse. I want to move this shape. Now the next option is the scale option, which has this symbol. I click on it. Scale is also for making my shape bigger or smaller. When I click in the middle of this symbol, and I don't look, the shape scales completely in all directions. It gets bigger or smaller. We move it up, it gets bigger, and it gets smaller down. Now I want to scroll my shape in one of these directions, for example in the x-axis direction, I click, hold, and it scales. In the y-axis direction or 3. We use a skeleton most of the time when we have prepared an object for the scene, and we want its shape to fit into our scene. Then we use a skeleton. So let's go to red snap, which is marked like this, and the shortcut is the S key, meaning that when we press the S key, it turns on or off. I right-click on Snap, and a page like this will open for us. You may have all of this typed for you, but it may not be for us. The part that is important to us is the vertex part, which must be typed. Vertex actually helps us find the corners of our shape when we are in between. Now here is my text, come and try it. I'll put it there. When the shape symbol is highlighted, I'll definitely move it closer to the corner of the shape. When you select the shape, when this hair symbol approaches the corner of the shape, you should see this installation symbol, but we don't see it here right now. Why is this snap not turned on? I turned on the snap now. You see, when we see that we approach the corners of the object, we see this symbol, meaning that this is the corner of this object now, or here and here, and we see that we can move our shape from these corners. Well, another option here is that we can click grid point when this checkbox is enabled and our snap is also on. And we move it, it bolds this grid for us and shows that we don't use it much. The most we use here is the rectangle, which we definitely should. In the snap section, the tick is on and snap itself is on. So what is snap? This is when we are in the bottom corner of snap. Let's hold it and click on the circle, and we see that we have 2, 2, and 3 snuffs, which we use more than 2 and 3 snuffs. When we want to work in the perspective environment, be kind or do anything, we must use the benefit of the head. So now we want to see what snap 3 and 2 are, and how they differ. I'm bringing these 2 boxes here. I have these 2 boxes that I'm adding to the price of this one. I want to draw a line between these 2 boxes. So I'm going to draw a line between these 2 boxes. These 2 boxes are also vertical, so let me first take this 25th piece, because I'm busy working. I want to draw a box between these 2. With the lines, now I'm in the top view, and the snuff is on the snuff. I select the 3-core line. We see that it shows me the corner. I have to hold down Shift, so that I can definitely straighten it. Well, let's go and let's see. The rectangle I wanted to draw was crooked like this. I also didn't have anyone in mind. I wanted to draw a straight rectangle like this. Why did this happen? Because when I was in the top view, the snap 3 was active. When I was in the top view, we have to use the snap 2. Now I'm going to put this in the second view. In the right view. And I'm going to draw this about the lines. So let's go to the perspective view, and here we see that the straight line is drawn correctly and accurately. So the angle snub is this shape. Another one of our snaps. What is it used for? When we want to rotate a shape. For example, I want to rotate this box. I'll turn off the angle snub first. Let's see the difference. I want to rotate this. Let's see this above the numbers. When I rotate it, my 2 degrees are 4 degrees. Now the 20 degrees are 20 degrees. These are the same numbers. I can't, for example, put this on 90 degrees. See, 86 is very difficult. To make this sit on a minute scale, I have to come to the angle snub. Turn it on. Now that it's turned on, now it moves. Now I rotate it 35, 50, 65, 70. You see, this 5 to 5 rotations becomes 95. 110. So now how can this shape be rotated 5 degrees 5 degrees? I want it to be rotated 10 degrees 10 degrees. For this we need to do something. This page will appear when we straighten the axis and the angle. And in the angle section you see, it says 5 degrees. You can change this to any number you want. For example, I'll change it to 10 degrees here. Okay. Now we'll notate this shape to see if it's 10 delay or 10 delay notation. 5, 6, 7, 8 note set Sabo. Well, another guild that we'll talk about. But it doesn't have many jobs. This guild, which I can explain, is mostly used in skilling. Let me show you, for example. I am drawing from this box. I am also in the scale. Look, when this snap is turned on, pay attention to the numbers below. I want this box. Scale. Look, the number is added to 10 by 10, which means it doesn't scale like 10 to 10 is more or less. Now for these settings, I want you to know, this is the number 10. Where did it come from on this snack that we are making? And from this cut, you can see the number 10 here. This number can be changed by you, and if you want, you can use the skeleton. If 1 unit is added, or 5 units of color are added, you can change this number. Instead of the number 10, you can use any number that suits your needs. This is one of the many applications that we use, such as the Axis application, which I don't have in this folder right now. I'm coming here to activate it. I wake up empty-handed. I right-click and from here I activate this option. I turn on the tick, and this axis of mine comes here. For you, there may be places that you can take from here and put your axis wherever you want. I'll let this section be called Axis Server Axis, and this X and Eglig, which has the symbol method of that art. The Abia symbol means light. So what is this axis? This axis is used when we want to move the volume in a specific direction. Let's move it. We can lock it in that direction using axis. For example, I'm going to move it now. For example, I'm going to make this box bigger. I want to move these boxes only in the direction of the axis, like this one axis. Let's not move in the other direction. For this to work, the axis must be on, and I must click on the Y-axis once. Now you see that from here it only moves on X. It doesn't move towards Z or Y at all. Or you can activate it from here, or between the excavator itself, for example between the excavator X. You click on one side, or for example even change it here. I want to move only in the Y-axis. I click on the Y-axis. I go here on the Y-axis. It works fine and its movement stops. Or even change it, it doesn't move in other directions at all. I see that it is now to the left. It doesn't move, it only moves in the right direction of this like this. So now I want to draw 2 boxes like this. And this box also goes to the view of the students of Tyron. I click on it, I don't care about this box. So now I want this box to be exactly in the same direction as this. That is, if I draw a straight line from here, this charity should be on the line no matter what. So how can I adjust this? Well, in the first place, we know that when I want to move this box in this direction, because I want to move it on the X-axis, I have to turn on the axis and turn it off on the X-axis. Now we know that it is on the X-axis, but how do I know that it is the same path, in the same direction? How can I distinguish between the times when both the predecessors must be closed, and the axes activate the predecessors? So that I can find the corners of our shape. Now this corner of this shape has also been recognized. There is also a mob symbol. So here I click and hold. We see that it is moving on the X-axis. I will move it with it in the style of this one of my shapes to this corner. Now when it is connected, it means that these are in the same position with me, and here it makes me sleep. Let's see in all respects from the perspective. I was exactly in a mess. Well, let's say we work with the axis. Again, I will go to the viewport until I hit the arrow. And this minute we're going to draw a line. I'm going to click. I'm going to hold the shaft. I'm going to have a smooth line for this word. I drew this line, and the line settings section explains the full line settings. Let's combine using the axis and name. So I'll select the vertices of the line. I'll select these vertices. And now, because I want this line to be straight, let it be in this state. I want to move to the x-axis. So the axis is to the x-axis, and I will move the names. I'm going to do it, and since you came, don't mess up the subscript and I'll let you go. So now I'm drawing a box here in a plane. I click and exit the command. So now what is my goal? I want to bring this box and place it on the plane. I select the box because I don't want the box to be in a specific direction. I want to put the corner of this in the corner of this plane, so it can move in multiple worlds. I don't need axis. I'll turn off axis, but snap needs to be on so I can recognize the corners of my box. Snap is on. Here the plus sign came. And when the mob sign came, I clicked and held it, and it moved towards the corner there. You can see it was coming towards the corner of the plane, and I released it. Now my box is here. It's on my desktop. Okay, this is one way we can do this, but what's the faster way and the easier way? The next way is that I put the box in place. I first select my box. We come to the Align option, which has this check mark, and here you are. I click the method. Now I'm going to choose our shape again. Click and a page like this opens for me. This box should also be checked and have a default here. Now I want the box to be in the middle of the plane. In the middle of the plane, and on the plane, in the middle. So what do I do first? Now I want this part here to be related to the box. All the shapes that I selected first. The target object is also related to the double shape. So I want the middle of the box now. In the middle of the plane, okay, let's see. The box also came in the middle. In the middle of the plane, I'm going to apply it. Now I'll give it the next settings. Well, I wanted the box to be on my desk. That means I wanted the lowest point of the box to be on the highest point of the plenum. This time we want our box to move on the z-axis. Okay, here we'll just listen to the beat. Well, the lowest part of the boxer becomes the minimum, and the highest part of the play becomes the maximum. Now as we turn around, you can see that the box is exactly in the middle of the plane and on the plane. Well, another one of the endings is going to be the ending of perfection. Now I'm going to be the core. So I act like a mirror, for example. I want this shape. I want to have both sides of the mirror. I chose this, I want. Whatever I choose, I take control. Both figures were silhouetted. Well, I'll put on the full mirror. This window opens for me. He hit the axis, for example. I want to have a mirror for me so that we can see. So we do it. This severe Myron that I draw inside and inside was tick-shaped. We see that it acts like a mirror. Now you can bet on LoveX. Or wow, take a look at your figure. You can make a copy of it, or even an instance copy.